I was just boarding my flight back from Atlanta when my phone buzzed. It was a text from my brother Jason. My heart skipped when I read it. "Do not go home tonight." I texted back immediately. "Why? What is wrong?" His reply came seconds later. "Just trust me and stay away." I tried calling, but he would not answer. Something in my gut told me this was serious. Jason had never steered me wrong before. I changed my plans and headed to his place instead of home. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you are watching from in the comments. If someone has ever warned you about danger, hit that like button and subscribe to hear how a single text message revealed a horrifying truth about the people I trusted most. Life was good before that text. At 34, I had everything I thought I wanted. A beautiful home in the suburbs of Portland, a loving wife named Sophia, and two amazing kids, Ethan and Emma, 8 and 6. They were the light of my life, with Ethan sharing my passion for basketball and Emma always ready with a new drawing to put on our fridge. I had recently been promoted to senior marketing executive at my firm, which meant better pay, but also more travel. 3 or 4 days away every other week had become my new normal. Looking back, I should have noticed the warning signs. The week before my Atlanta trip, things felt off at home. Sophia seemed distant, always taking calls in another room and password protecting her phone, something she had never done before. The kids were quieter too. Emma stopped showing me her artwork, and Ethan would just shrug when I asked about school. I chalked it up to my own exhaustion and the adjustment period we all needed with my new schedule. Jason and I had always been close despite our differences. Growing up, he was the wild child always in trouble while I played it safe. He had struggled with some legal issues in his 20s but had turned things around in the last few years. He was now working as a security consultant, and though we did not see each other as often as we should, he was still the person I trusted most in the world. The drive to his apartment that night was the longest 30 minutes of my life. I tried calling Sophia 3 times, but she did not pick up. My mind raced with possibilities, each worse than the last. Had there been an accident? Was someone sick? I even considered whether Jason was having another crisis and just needed me to stay with him. When I arrived, Jason answered the door looking grim. His apartment was sparse but neat, reflecting his minimalist approach to life since getting sober. He ushered me in without a hug, which was unusual for him. "What is going on?" I asked, dropping my overnight bag by the door. "You are scaring me." He gestured for me to sit on his worn leather couch. The TV was off, and the only sound was the hum of his refrigerator from the small kitchen. "I do not know how to tell you this, Logan," he said, running a hand through his short, dark hair. "But I have been watching your house." My brother watching my house. I felt a chill run down my spine. Why would you do that? He sat across from me in an armchair, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. "I noticed something has been off when I came by to drop off Ethan's birthday present last month. Sophia was acting weird and the kids seemed scared. Not of me, but just scared." I shook my head, my initial fear turning to annoyance. "So, you have been spying on my family because Sophia was having a bad day?" Jason held up his hand. "Just listen. After that visit, I started driving by your place occasionally, especially after you mentioned all your new business trips." He paused clearly, struggling with what to say next. "I noticed the same car parked a block away several times. Always when you were gone." So what I said, though, the unease was creeping back. "A neighbor has a visitor. The car belongs to someone named Frank Matthews." Jason said the name like it should mean something to me. I frowned, thinking. "Sophia's colleague, tall guy, works in her department." Jason nodded grimly. "That is the one. After seeing his car there 3 nights in a row last week, all times when you were in Chicago, I got concerned. You still have not explained why I cannot go home tonight," I said, my patience wearing thin. Jason stood up and walked to his desk in the corner of the living room. He opened his laptop and pulled up a video file. "I know this crosses a line, but I installed a small security camera across from your house, angled at your front door and driveway. My initial reaction was anger. You did what? That is invasion of privacy. What were you thinking?" "Just watch," he said, turning the screen toward me. The footage was grainy but clear enough. The timestamp showed 11:12 p.m., from 3 nights ago when I was still in Atlanta. A dark sedan pulled up and a man got out heading confidently to my front door. He did not knock or ring the bell, he just entered using a key. I recognized him immediately. Frank Matthews, Sophia's co-worker, who I had met at the company Christmas party last year. My stomach knotted. Maybe he was just dropping something off for her. Jason clicked to another video from the next night. Same car, same time, same man. Then another from the night after that. In this one, he stayed until 5:30 a.m. The obvious conclusion made me feel sick, but Jason was not done. These might just suggest an affair, which would be bad enough, he said. But then I got these. He opened another folder with more footage, these taken through a window of my house. Before I could ask how he got these, he played the first clip. It showed my living room. Frank was sitting on my couch with Sophia nowhere in sight. Ethan came downstairs asking for a glass of water, and Frank's reaction made my blood run cold. He grabbed my son's arm, roughly whispering something in his ear that made Ethan's face go pale. My son nodded quickly and retreated upstairs without the water. I watched clip after clip, each worse than the last. Frank disciplining my children with harsh words and intimidating posture. My daughter being brought to tears for spilling a drink. My son being forced to stand in the corner for over an hour for not finishing homework. All in my home. All while I was away. Jason placed a hand on my shoulder. I did some digging on this guy Logan. He has a record. Domestic violence charge that was dropped when the girlfriend would not testify. 2 complaints from neighbors about yelling at kids in a previous relationship. Nothing stuck because of insufficient evidence. I could barely breathe. Why would Sophia allow this? Where was she during all this? The last video answered that question. It showed Sophia and Frank arguing in the kitchen, her gesturing with exhaustion about the kids, him offering to take care of things while she rested. She retreated upstairs with a grateful look, leaving him in charge. Your kids are being abused by this man when you are not home. Jason whispered, saying out loud what I could hardly process. And Sophia is allowing it, maybe not realizing how bad it is, but allowing it all the same. The room seemed to spin around me. My children, my beautiful innocent children, being terrorized in their own home by a man who had no right to discipline them. By a man who had somehow convinced my wife this was okay. The videos showed what I had missed. The reason for the changes in my children. The reason they had grown quiet and withdrawn. They were living in fear, and I had been too busy with work to notice. My first impulse was to rush home right away to confront Frank and Sophia, to grab my children and take them somewhere safe. I stood up, keys already in hand. Jason blocked my path to the door. Logan, wait. If you go in there hot, you could make things worse. We need to be smart about this. I want to kill him, I said through clenched teeth. And in that moment I meant it. He is hurting my children in my own home. Which is why we need to handle this right, Jason insisted. If you just go in and start throwing punches, who do you think ends up in jail? And then what happens to Ethan and Emma? His logic cut through my rage. I took a deep breath. What do you suggest? Jason guided me back to the couch. First we call Tom. Tom Rodriguez had been my friend since college and was now a detective with the Portland police. I nodded, pulling out my phone, with shaking hands. As I waited for him to pick up, Jason continued gathering evidence, taking screenshots and organizing the video files. Tom answered on the 4th ring, his voice groggy. It was nearly midnight. When I explained the situation, he was immediately alert. Do not go home, Logan. He echoed Jason's warning. Let me see the evidence first. Then we will figure out how to approach this to make sure your kids stay safe and this guy faces consequences. I will be there in 20 minutes. While waiting for Tom, I thought of all the signs I had missed. 2 months ago, Ethan had tried to tell me something about Mommy's friend who came over, but Sophia had quickly interrupted, saying it was just her colleague dropping off work documents. Last month, Emma had begged me not to go on my trip to Chicago, clinging to my leg at the airport drop-off. I had gently removed her, assuming it was normal separation anxiety. I had failed them. The thought crushed me like a physical weight. When Tom arrived, he reviewed the footage, carefully taking notes. and asking Jason detailed questions about how he obtained the videos. He seemed concerned about the legality of the surveillance, but more concerned about the children. "This is enough for us to do a welfare check," he said finally, "and enough to question this Frank character. But we need to tread carefully. If your wife is allowing this, we need to understand why. She may be a victim herself." I had not considered that possibility. The thought of Sophia also being intimidated or controlled by Frank added another layer of horror to the situation. Tom made some calls, and soon we had a plan. We would go to my house early the next morning with Tom bringing a colleague from Family Services. The goal was to ensure the children's safety first, then address the legal issues with Frank. I barely slept that night on Jason's couch, my mind replaying the footage over and over. By morning, my grief had hardened into resolve. I would do whatever it took to protect my children, even if it meant confronting painful truths about my marriage. At 7:00 a.m., we pulled up a block away from my house. Tom's unmarked police car was behind us, and another vehicle with a social worker named Andrea joined shortly after. The dark sedan Frank's car was in my driveway. I had expected to feel rage again seeing that car, but instead I felt cold determination. Tom approached us with final instructions. "Let me go in first," he said. "Logan, you follow with Andrea. Jason, you stay out here as backup." Jason nodded, squeezing my shoulder. "It is going to be okay, bro. We are going to make it right." The walk to my front door felt surreal. This was my home, where I had built my life, created memories with my family. Now it felt like entering a stranger's house full of secrets and betrayal. Tom knocked, identifying himself as police. After a long moment, Sophia opened the door, her face going pale when she saw me standing there with a detective and social worker. "Logan," she said, her voice barely audible, "I thought you were coming home tonight." "Change of plans," I replied, my voice steadier than I expected. "We need to talk, Sophia. Is Frank here?" Her eyes widened at the mention of his name. "I do not know what Jason has been telling you, but Frank appeared in the hallway behind her, trying to look casual but clearly tense." "Logan, man, good to see you. Just stopped by to help Sophia with some work stuff." Tom stepped forward, showing his badge. "Frank Matthews. We have some questions for you about your interactions with the minor children in this home." The color drained from Frank's face. "What are you talking about? This is ridiculous. Where are my children?" I asked, stepping past Sophia into the house. Upstairs, she whispered, tears forming in her eyes. "Logan, please, this is not what you think." I took the stairs 2 at a time, Andrea following closely behind me. I found Ethan and Emma huddled together in Emma's room, still in their pajamas, looking scared and confused. "Daddy," Emma cried, running into my arms. Ethan stayed back, watching cautiously until I opened my other arm to him. He came slowly, then collapsed against me, both children clinging to me with surprising strength. I heard raised voices downstairs, Frank's angry protests and Tom's firm responses. Then the sound of handcuffs clicking. Emma looked up at me, her brown eyes wide. "Is Mr. Frank going to be mad again?" The question broke something inside me. "No, sweetheart. Mr. Frank is not coming back. You are safe now." Andrea gently asked if she could speak with the children, explaining she was there to help. I stepped into the hallway, where Sophia stood, trembling. "How could you?" I asked, keeping my voice low for the children's sake. "How could you let that man near our children?" She covered her face with her hands. "I did not know Logan. I swear I did not know how he was treating them when I wasn't looking. He offered to help with discipline since I was overwhelmed with work and the kids and you were gone so much." She looked up, her eyes pleading. "He seemed so good with them when I was around. They just said they did not like him, but kids say that about all Mommy's friends." Her excuse made me nauseous. Mommy's friends. How many others had there been? Downstairs, Tom was leading Frank out to a patrol car that had arrived. Frank saw me and snarled, "You will regret this, man. Those kids need discipline. Your wife knows it. You are gone too much to understand what she deals with." I started toward him, but Jason appeared at my side, holding me back. "He is trying to provoke you. Do not give him what he wants." Frank was placed in the back of the patrol car. Tom came back to explain the next steps. Frank would be questioned about the potential abuse. Based on the evidence and children's statements, charges might follow. The social worker would need to interview the children properly and assess the home situation. I stood in my living room, the center of my life, that now felt contaminated by Frank's presence. The framed family photos on the wall seemed to mock me images of happy moments that concealed a darker reality. "What do we do now?" Sophia asked quietly, standing apart from me. I looked at her, this woman I had loved and trusted, and felt nothing but a vast emptiness. "Now I take care of my children. Everything else is secondary." The weeks that followed were the hardest of my life. The investigation into Frank revealed more than we initially suspected. He had been entering our home for nearly 3 months, always when I was traveling. The children told their stories to professional counselors, describing how Frank would threaten them if they told me about his visits or his discipline. "They are such good kids," the counselor told me after one session. "They were trying to protect you and their mother from being upset." The thought of my children suffering in silence to protect me was almost unbearable. I took an extended leave from work, making it clear to my boss that my family had to come first. To his credit, he was understanding, especially when I explained the situation without going into detail. Sophia and I existed in a state of cold civility. She claimed she truly had not known about Frank's behavior toward the children, that she was often upstairs resting or working while he supervised them. The affair she eventually admitted to, tears streaming down her face, as she described feeling abandoned by my constant travel and overwhelmed by single parenting when I was gone. I wanted to feel sympathy for her, but the breach of trust was too great. After consulting with a lawyer, we agreed to a trial separation, with the children staying primarily with me in the house, while she moved in temporarily with her sister. Jason became our rock during this time. He visited often, bringing dinner or just sitting with me late into the night, when I could not sleep. One evening, as we sat on the back porch after the kids were in bed, I finally asked him the question that had been nagging at me. "How did you know to check on us? What made you suspicious in the first place?" He sipped his coffee before answering. "Something Emma said when I dropped off Ethan's present. She asked if I could stay for dinner because Mommy is nicer when company is over. It struck me as odd. Then when I was leaving, I saw her looking out the window with this expression kids should not have. Worried, vigilant, like she was on guard duty. I knew that look, Logan. I had it as a kid when Dad's drinking friends would come over. I did not know that about his childhood. It seemed there were depths to my brother I had never fully appreciated. You saved my family," I told him, my voice thick with emotion. He shrugged, uncomfortable with the praise. "You would have figured it out eventually." "But what if I had not? What if this had gone on for years?" "Well, it did not," he said firmly. "And it will not. The kids are going to be okay, Logan. Kids are resilient." He was right. Slowly, with professional help and constant reassurance, Ethan and Emma began to heal. Emma started drawing again, her pictures no longer dark and confined to small corners of the paper. Ethan rejoined his basketball team, gradually becoming more engaged and confident. Frank was charged with child endangerment and intimidation. The evidence was strong enough that he accepted a plea deal rather than face trial. Part of me wished he had gone to trial, forced to answer publicly for what he had done. But another part was relieved. The children would not have to testify. 6 months after that fateful text message, our lives had found a new rhythm. Sophia and I had begun couples therapy, not with the goal of reconciliation, but to establish a healthy co-parenting relationship. The therapist helped us address the deeper issues in our marriage that had existed long before Frank entered the picture. My workaholism, her feelings of abandonment, our mutual failure to communicate honestly about our needs. I had transferred to a different division at work that required minimal travel. The pay was slightly less, but the trade-off was worth every penny. Being present for breakfast with my children each morning and tucking them in every night gave me a joy that no promotion could match. One evening, as I helped Emma with her homework, while Ethan practiced piano in the living room, my daughter looked up at me with those perceptive brown eyes. "Daddy, will the bad man ever come back?" I put down my pencil, giving her my full attention. No, sweetie. He is gone for good. And I am not going away on trips anymore. She considered this seriously. Good. Because I like when you are home. She paused, then added, and Uncle Jason too. Uncle Jason has been pretty great, hasn't he? I smiled, thinking of how my brother had stepped up, becoming a regular fixture in our lives, teaching Ethan to fish and attending Emma's dance recitals. Emma nodded enthusiastically. He promised to teach me his secret pancake recipe this weekend. That night, after the kids were asleep, I sat on the porch swing, reflecting on how close I had come to losing everything that truly mattered. My phone buzzed with a text. It was from Jason. Kids good, I smiled as I typed back. Perfect. Thanks to you. His reply came quickly. Nah, thanks to you stepping up. You are a good dad, Logan. Those simple words meant more to me than any corporate accolade ever had. The truth was, I had learned the hardest lesson possible about what it means to protect your family. It is not just about providing financially or creating a nice home. It is about being present, truly present, to see the small changes, to hear the unspoken words, to notice when something is off. Protection requires vigilance, but not the paranoid, controlling kind. Rather, the loving attention that says, I see you, I hear you, you matter to me. As I rocked gently on the porch swing under a sky full of stars, I felt gratitude wash over me. Despite the pain and betrayal, despite the nightmare we had lived through, my children were safe now. They were healing. And so was I. I still had a lot to figure out about my future with Sophia, about balancing work and family, about being the kind of father I wanted to be. But one thing was certain. I would never again be too busy to notice what was happening, right under my own roof. Some lessons come at too high a price to be forgotten. Have you ever received a warning that changed the course of your life, or noticed signs of trouble you initially dismissed? Share your experiences in the comments below. Your story might help someone else recognize the warning signs in their own life. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like and subscribe to hear more real-life experiences. And remember, sometimes the most important text message you will ever receive is the one that says, "Do not go home tonight." Thank you for listening, and may you always protect what matters most.